You said bell peppers and beef.
His name's Asimov Solensen. Are you listening to me?
There's no beef in here. So you wouldn't really call it bell peppers and beef now, would you?
Yes, I would.
Well, it's not!
It is when you're broke.
Jet, do you know that there are 3 things that I particularly hate?
Really?
Kids, animals, and women with attitudes. So tell me, Jet, why do we have all 3 of them neatly gathered in our ship? What's cooking?
Special bell peppers and beef.
Just a humble bounty hunter, man.
die alone, and this world just drops a bunch of rules on top of you to make you forget those facts, but I never forget.
And or get a driver and party like a rock star. Would that be okay? Cool, dude. So this is sexy because like away from the card stuff. I was looking through kind of my the Teachable membership area I set up, and I think I sent you a screenshot a while ago where I set up I took some of your webinars and some of your videos that I thought were really good, like free training stuff off your YouTube, and kind of popped them in there and gave it away as a freemium. And I think on one of the videos I linked to one of your funnels, and I think I think it made a few sales. I can't remember, but I looked at the analytics of people who watch the videos, and 400 people, I think I told you this, unsolicited. And by the way, I have a list right now. You want to see something awesome? So I'm down. They had to rip a tooth out. So that's why I have a long story, but basically it was dead years ago, and they were like, we got to put a new one in there. So $6,000 later, I am on the retainer till they get the replacement ready. So you're saying I really should go for the solid gold up front, dude? I'm telling you, I think you make a valid argument, mainly because I don't want the actual logical reason to not have one. But anyways, the analytics show people are digesting the information, because it tracks how long people watch the videos, and it has it's 60 to 70% of the people who watch the videos go through 60 or 70% of the content, which is pretty high for some of those videos. The webinars specifically are pretty freaking long. Yeah, exactly. So that kind of told me people are hungry for that kind of content, and I've never emailed about it. The way people sign up for it is they become a member to buy the book, and then they see in their their little portal Adrian Morrison's Ecommerce Success Training Light or something like that. So out of all my members, 400 have signed up for that.
I believe, yes, we are now recording. We are live.
Sweet, we are live, and this is probably the first interview I've done with someone for a while. And we were talking kind of before the recording about how I've been a big fan of Adrian's for a long time, even before we started doing some work together, and just the way that this handsome young man here teaches is beyond a lot of people in our kind of world, right? You've got all kinds of entrepreneurs out there who are the self-proclaimed heroes and gurus of all kinds of different things. But the cool thing that Adrian brings to the table, and why I got involved with what he's doing, is you actually take an insanely amount, or you actually invest just astronomical amount of time in the content that you create. In I think looking through your Ecom Success Academy course, I was flabbergasted with, I think, I don't want to over exaggerate, but I think it was something like 200 hours of content when you were kind of digesting it all. I'm not sure what the final output ended up being, but I remember seeing hard drives upon hard drives of information that you'd put together. And
it's crazy. I mean, I spent a year developing it, and I know that when people are getting trained, tutorials, they're helpful for if you're trying to learn how to do a quick tip in Photoshop, right? Or a really quick task. But when you're learning marketing, you don't need a tutorial. You need an over-the-shoulder training. So what I wanted to do was just record myself building a store, building campaigns, so people could see exactly how I do it, and they could mimic it and duplicate it, as I was doing it at the same exact time. And that ended up being very helpful for a lot of people.
Well, and the beautiful thing about that too is they get to take action right away. And we could dive into the theory of how people learn and how they digest and how they actually turn information into beliefs, into action. But the first step of that is actually being able to see that it can actually happen. So you, instead of going up in front of a whiteboard and just kind of theoretically sharing how it might work. You were showing people exactly the step-by-step, but maybe I should give people some context about, exactly who you are and what you've been able to accomplish in the last few years. When people ask about people I've worked with, I always like to tell them that, I got this client who sells socks and makes, 8 figures a year, and the cat socks specifically. And, that usually gets a nice laugh, but I think I should be clear that there's multifaceted pieces of your business beyond just e-commerce, right? You've got the info product side.
For sure.
And the journey that got you to where you are is just fascinating to me. And, maybe we can touch on that a bit, because, a lot of people look at the success of people and they see it as kind of a finite point in time. Like they look at you, they might see the cool cars and the big house and the, fancy condos and whatnot. And they might assume like, oh, this guy's just, he's always been here. Like they don't necessarily understand the 99% of effort and time behind that buildup. So maybe, give us a bit of a taste of what it took to go from, that journey that it's kind of a bell curve, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not just one quick switch, is it?
No, not at all. Listen, I was voted most likely to not succeed in high school. Straight up student, super ADD. I'm really not all that smart. I mean, I start out all my speeches and presentations when I introduce myself to people, and I'm like, you're probably, like most people watching this are probably smarter than I am, right? And the fact that I've been able to make it and achieve the success that I've had is just proof to how amazing the internet is right now and all the opportunity that is there. It's not just the smartest person in the world, but also it did not happen overnight. Like you mentioned, it was because I didn't want to be a loser. I didn't want to be broke. I didn't want to work at a car wash anymore for $5.15 an hour. And I decided one night that I was going to be successful. And to me, in the beginning, successful meant just making $100,000 a year. I live in Mississippi. $100,000 a year, you can live like a king out here. And so that was my goal. It was never millions. I didn't think I could ever achieve millions. So instead of playing video games, instead of partying, instead of, wasting my time watching reality TV shows, I decided to start doing internet marketing, right? And I would take my paycheck, which wasn't very much, and I would cut it in half every month. And I would say, okay, this is the money I need to survive. And this is the money that I can essentially blow, that other people would blow on alcohol or the newest phone or whatever it may be. I'm going to put this toward ads. And I lost many a times when I first got started. I started getting mentored. I started getting educated. And I started learning where I was making my mistakes, and I was consistent and I didn't give up. And I think like my first big month ever, I made $12,000. And I was in college. I was pre-law.
That's a pretty big deal, right? To a lot of people.
Dude,
that's
I
huge,
felt
right?
like, man, you should have seen me walking around college campus at Ole Miss. I thought I was it, man.
Right.
And I failed the LSAT. I couldn't get into law school. I tried 3 times and I couldn't pass it. I'm not good at tests. So when I made that 12 grand after probably 3 months of trying to figure it out, it was the eye opener for me that, holy crap, I can actually get really, really wealthy doing this stuff. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm running a, multi 8-figure business, done over 9 figures in sales over the course of my career. And I think there's 2 big pieces to how I got to where I am. Number one was just simply being consistent and on the cutting edge every day, just making sure that I am paying attention to how the internet is evolving, right? Even if I'm not currently doing it, if it's e-commerce, if it's digital marketing, if it's affiliate marketing. And the second
Paying attention.
Yeah. And the second thing is just getting educated, like having no ego. I don't know everything in the world. When I want to learn how to write copy, or when I want a really good amazing sales letter written, I'm going to hit up Sean Bossler, right? Someone who's way better at copy than me, which we will talk about after this interview, by the way. So I'm always getting educated by people that are better than me, and I like to be the dumbest person in the room at all times so I can learn more.
Well, and it's funny because that may come off as a cliche to some people, like, don't be the smartest person in the room, but it has such and for me, a lot of times you can take that kind of metaphorical, like I'm the dumbest person in this room right now because I've got a bookshelf full of, ridiculously smart people here that have spent 10,000 hours learning how to, create stories, 10,000 hours on how to talk to anyone. So like there's mentors in all kinds of forms. It's always best if you can get them one-on-one, and even, folks watching content like this, they're going to find themselves, I think always this kind of stuff is useful in an inspirational sense. It can start a little fire, and turn into a big fire and turn into a railroad. And then also, they're going to be able to take away, I think we'll, near the end of this, we'll talk a bit more about some more of the tactical things. But you did mention something that was fascinating to me, and it's something I know that I struggled with early in my journey. And I think a lot of people are early in what they might call an entrepreneurial journey, where they're still, you said one day you decided you're not going to deal with this $5 an hour anymore, bullcrap. You're going to go and be successful. That point of decision, that kind of catalyst piece of this is the change I'm going to make. That is, to me, a very fascinating part of anybody's story. And a lot of people, and my question is going to relate to this. A lot of people kind of skip to where you said the next kind of step was that, wow, I reached the $12,000. I want to talk just a little bit about the time in between that, because from a mindset standpoint, I'm sure, you can speak to the, some of the pain that comes from failure. A lot of us get really into the confidence game and get, just bullheaded, but I'm sure there were points where you failed and you might have just said, oh my gosh, like F this, like I took half my paycheck and I burn it, and you get discouraged. Could you talk about that maybe a little? Because I think a lot of people have been, they've been stabbed by that failure and refuse to take the knife out. Like they still live with that crutch, right? So maybe you could speak to that a little, because that's fascinating.
Especially now, when I got started, social media wasn't a thing, and now it's even worse, because if you make a mistake and you fail and you're seeing all these other people that look like they're succeeding, be it real or fake, it makes you feel even worse about yourself. And when I got started, I had like everything going against me. I didn't have a lot of money. My brother was making a lot of money, but didn't want to show me how he was doing it. Right? I mean, right. Big brother syndrome. He was doing pretty well, doing a completely different thing in the internet space. And everybody told me that I was going to be a failure, legitimately. Schools, friends, everybody made fun of me. I was that kid.
Even internally sometimes too, right? Like sometimes that crops up.
I accepted failure, right? I accepted the fact that I was not destined to be, smart or wealthy. And so when I did start out, it would burn significantly more when I would make a mistake or when I would fail. And oftentimes, if I would lose like $100 on an ad, I would just feel like, sick to my stomach thinking of the things I could have done with that $100, which is short-sighted, right? I learned in this process that 3 months to success, I learned that you don't really, ever fail. You either win or you learn. And when you look at it that way, you look at the $10 you lose or the $30 you lose as a lesson, a valuable lesson, like you invest in when you go to school. And you say, what can I learn from this? And how can I make sure when I do it again, I don't make that same mistake? And when you have that point of view, you start to look at your ads as investments, and you start to make progress. And when you see a little bit of success, it's not about making 12K in your first month. It's about making the little bits of progress that show you that you are headed towards your end goal. And like making my first commission on an affiliate offer, I was like, oh my gosh, I just made a $35 commission, right? And I work for $5 an hour. That's like 7 hours or 8 hours or whatever of work, washing cars in the beating sun of the heat of Mississippi. Holy crap. Like, you know, that's life-changing for me at that point. And so as I started this process, nobody believed in me. You know, my parents do, but that doesn't count. Your parents are always going to say, well, most people
right.
are going to say, you got this. You're the smartest and best looking person, blah, blah, blah.
And sometimes that's not a good thing, by the way, but that's a whole other subject.
You know, so I didn't believe them. And you got to get rid of the negative people, man. Everybody says internet marketing is a scam. If it's a scam, then how are there so many people making ridiculous amounts of money? How is the guy that lives down the street from me that went through my training now running a $20 million a year e-commerce store, right? How did this other guy from Toronto just hit $500,000 in sales that wasn't a career engineer, right? Too many people are having success with this stuff and sharing that success. But you're going to have the people that surround you, including yourself, trying to convince you that it doesn't work or that it's not going to work for you because they are special. And you have to accept that, you know, you're willing to sacrifice whatever it takes in order to achieve that success. It could be 3 months. It could be 6 months. But to anybody watching this right now, tell me, would you rather continue to work at the dead-end job that you most likely work at for the next 15, 20 years, so you can get fired by your boss,
whatever reason,
because some young buck comes in that'll do your job more efficiently for less money? Or would you rather spend the last year getting kicked in the ass trying to learn this stuff and getting mentored so you can hit it big and you can achieve financial freedom, right? Not just millions of dollars, but freedom. I decided that I would do whatever it took to achieve that success. So every time it burned and every time I screwed up, I thought about, okay, it's going to be worth it in the long run. And that's really what kept me going. And, you know, I would say about after a year, I really hit it big and started doing e-commerce and Teespring and t-shirts. And I have now so many different facets of my business. I look back and I still am like,
what?
How am I doing this? Like,
most people, I think anybody who's accomplished anything that they have created into being, like brought into being, they will look at it and say, how is that even reality, right? And it's a shame. So there's a lot in politics and really, like, there's all kinds of spheres of influence out there that tell people to, you know, not push past a certain boundary. And a lot of people look at that and they say, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. I don't want to push, experience the sacrifice or the suffering, the things that are required. Like there's no way around it. Like that is a requirement to gain anything else. You have to give, right? And I find that fascinating. Everybody I talk to that is built, because you did it from scratch with some very powerful tools and very powerful training.
Sure.
But it was you who pulled the levers and hammered the nails, right? So I look at anybody who kind of, maybe they say it's a scam or they say, those people are special. I say, well, they were special. You know why they're special is because they took the hammer and started nailing, where the other person who you might say is not special, by calling someone special, by the way, you're calling everyone else not special, right? Which is a very derogatory thing to accuse someone of. So I like to think that everybody at different levels is very, very special. It's just a matter of getting that experience in motion, which you obviously have accomplished very well. I wrote down a few more questions here. I don't want to, take you up forever, but I am curious, like, how did, because you're never done with the entrepreneur journey, right? You're still on it. You're still evolving. And it is funny. I think we talked about this in the past, which most people, until they experience it, they won't get it. There's a plateau where you actually start getting kind of depressed because you climb this mountain and then you get to the top. You're like, I made it to the mountain, but you're at the top of the mountain. There's just clouds, right? You still are in this still kind of, you can still fail because you're not sure where to go next. I think a lot of people don't get to experience that, which is an odd thing. But how has this journey changed you as an individual, and maybe even those around you? I think it's amazing that how much can change from taking a part of your life and taking responsibility for it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. I wake up every day and I feel like I have purpose. And when I was younger, and I know some people watching this might be 50 years old, 60 years old, and they're just getting started. So their mindset might be different than a 20-year-old's mindset that's just getting started, right? I mean, you're 20, you're trying to figure out life. But it definitely changed my mindset, because I used to feel like, okay, I'm just going to get a job and I'm just going to go work from 9 to 5 and, just try to work my way up the corporate ladder in a law firm or something. And that all seemed very daunting to me. And as an entrepreneur, I became very excited because I then had the openness for creativity to do what I wanted to do, to look at what's happening and what's evolving. And is it TikTok? Is it Twitter? Is it YouTube? And play in those different fields. But ultimately, I would say the two best things that have come out of this are, number one, is that with money, I found I didn't necessarily want to go buy all the nice cars, like the exotics, the McLarens and Lambos that I thought I was going to want to get. I just buy cars I like, which is not a Lamborghini. And it really helped me find myself, right? I thought all of these things I thought I wanted, I realized I only wanted them because I wanted people to accept me. And then when I became successful, I realized I don't need anybody to accept me, so I can be myself and do what I want to do. My life got a lot better at that point when I stopped trying to impress other people with money that I didn't have, buying things that I didn't need. Second thing is dude, money is like, and success is so good for me because if you look at my Facebook, you see like every day I'm posting about saving some puppy,
Right.
And I know it's cliche, but I'm just a big animal lover, like the only person in Mississippi that doesn't hunt or wear camo. And it just feels good to be able to afford to help people out, help shelters out, tip the girl at Starbucks $100 I know that doesn't want to be working on Thanksgiving. And it's enabled me to provide for my family too. And for me at my age, I'm thinking about growing a family. I'm thinking about the next 40 or 50 years, right? Someone else watching this right now might be thinking legacy, right? What do I have right now? And what can I leave as my legacy? And how can I leave my family and make sure they're taken care of? So my mind shifted a lot to how to give my family a great life, not just like the future kids I may have, but my mom, my dad, my sister, and my cousins. And we just bought my whole family lots in this neighborhood we're building houses in. We bought my mom a lot. My dad just passed last year, but him and my mom, wanted to build these big houses next to us. And we bought my sister a lot. We bought my aunt and uncle a lot. We're building them houses, and we get to provide an amazing worry-free life for the people that we love. And there's no depression. Like I hit these levels of success, and I'm like, what do I do next? Right? How can I make it bigger and better? But also you have to like sit back sometimes and be like, look at everything I've accomplished and all that I've been able to do, not just for myself, but for other people. And that drives me to do even more, honestly.
Well, and two, so this is fascinating because a lot of people they have fear of failure and then they have fear of success. Like it's just like double-edged sword. And I think a lot of people will hear that you're very grateful for those things, and their first gut reaction. And I want people watching this to kind of self-internalize, like think about your first gut reaction at what he said. Were you excited for the possibility of doing something similar in your life, or was there a tinge of envy, jealousy, or superfluous negative emotions that cropped up. And for most humans, you're going to have a little bit of both, right? You're going to see someone's, I'm looking out over La Jolla right now and I see these houses and it's like, well, I wish I was a little higher up in the hill, and and guess what though? You get a little higher up in the hill and you get a little more perspective. You get a little more ability to give back. You get, and people's at the bottom of perhaps the economic ladder might look up and just feel the rage of, I feel stuck, right? But the thing they haven't done, and it's a lot of times not their own fault, they just haven't been given the right tools to do this yet, but they haven't taken that first step of accepting that, all right, it is a ladder and I have to start climbing. And the way to do that, as you've helped us kind of understand, is make a choice to be willing to fail to learn. I think that's such a powerful lesson that people miss out on.
Most people that are in a rut right now that complain about their lives, I've spoken all over the world. 45 weeks out of the year, I've met tens of thousands of people. I've heard all of their excuses for why they're not successful. And my one thing that I always ask somebody that's whining to me is say, I just don't know why I can't make it, and I'm struggling and I can't pay my rent, and it's just not fair, and all this and all that. And I always ask them to say, all right, well, can you do me a favor? Can you just pull your phone out of your pocket, or can you pull it out of your purse real quick and let me see it? And they look at me and they're like, well, why do you want to see my phone? I'm like, I just want to see what kind of phone you have. Oh, that's nice. A brand new iPhone 11. Aren't those $800? Well, yeah, but I mean, it's, I got to have the new iPhone. No, you don't, right? You can have an old iPhone, not the new one. And you can take the extra $500 or $600 that you got, and you can invest that into education. You can invest that into some ads. But you need to get rid of your Netflix account, your $6 a month Disney Plus account. You need to get rid of all the junk that you don't need. If you truly want to succeed, you need to rid yourself of the things that you don't need, that don't help you. And you need to get all of the money you can and invest it in your business. And I'm not saying in ads necessarily, but invest it in education, right? And
I think you
struggle so much.
So you said something so powerful there, that because people say, well, $6 a month isn't that much for Disney Plus, but guess what? It also costs you, Netflix, whatever. It costs the average person, I think people would be blown away by how much time they spend watching YouTube, entertainment, Facebook. In fact, that's like always the thing I tell people to do. I'm like, don't track what you're going to do, track what you've done. Like, keep a planner, but here's what I did today. And, we're all guilty of this. We'll go on a binge and watch The Office for, 5 or 6 hours and then, feel kind of guilty about it. But guess what? If you're in a slump and your ultimate goal is not reached, that 5 or 6 hours isn't just costing you that $7 a month.
Right.
It's the opportunity cost of what you could have done with that time. And so many people get so much anxiety from giving up entertainment, where there's no real, it's instant gratification versus long-term growth. You have to make that exchange, and it teaches your brain that you are in control, not all these superfluous things in your life. So that's incredibly powerful. And I want to make sure people, like, we're going to do a webinar where we're going to go into more of the tactical elements of what Adrian does. I think, there'll be a link on either the screen or below the video where people can sign up for that. But, and also to check out his Ecommerce Success Academy, because I can't recommend it enough, mainly for not just the reasons we've discussed here from the mindset part, but also you are a tactical machine. You say you may not be the smartest one in the room, but I take some issue in that if you go into a room of ecom people, I would be pressed to find somebody who could challenge your output when it comes to tactical, real world leverage with advertising. Maybe you can talk a little bit for us about we've talked about the philosophy of it too, but when you start to sell things, I remember in a marketing piece you put out, you said, don't be a narcissist when you sell. Yeah. It's not about you, right? That really just floored me. Maybe we can talk about that for a minute. Yeah. That's so powerful.
It's not even that I'm the smartest person at ecom, it's that I'm experienced. I've been there, done that. I'm currently doing it.
You've
I'm
broken
running
everything.
food stores, and my biggest thing that I say to people that want to start ecom, first off, by the way, I'm selling products I never see, I never touch, I never ship. I have no warehouse, no Amazon FBA, no restrictions. I have built my own brand, my own massive email list, and so have thousands of other students that follow me and have taken my training. And most people come in and they say, you know what, Adrian, I love this. Just an example. I love the wallets. I'm fascinated with the different types of wallets that are out there. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sell wallets. All right. That's my big idea. Adrian, I love owls. I'm obsessed with owls. So I'm going to sell stuff with owls on them. That's what I'm going to sell. And I look at them and I go, no, that's not what you're going to sell, right? You like to play golf? Tough luck. Go play golf in your own spare time. If golf stuff isn't selling right now, then that's not what you should be offering on your e-commerce store. So you have to look at what other people want, because what you think is cool and what you like and what you want is irrelevant. You're not going to your own store and buying stuff. Other people are. Hence me selling cat socks, right? And now we're talking about socks for humans with pictures of cats on them, right?
Right.
I don't have any cats. I love all animals, but I'm a dog person. But cat socks were like blowing up, so I started selling cat socks, right? And then yoga pants. I mean, you're not going to catch me walking around in women's yoga pants. Yet I have sold 7 figures of yoga pants, right? With different pictures and styles and stuff. So to succeed with e-commerce, you have to give the people what they want. And there are people that say, the riches are in the niches. And while that may be true, I think it's only true to a certain extent. When you get these teeny tiny little niches, you're not able to really expand your brand. What you need to do is you need to find broad passions, things that people are very passionate about across the planet. And if you think about that, one of my biggest niches is the animal niche, right? People love their cats, people love their dogs, and they spend money on them. So I sell dog stuff. People love alcohol, right? They love wine. Like 35-plus-year-old women especially absolutely are obsessed with wine. I know this because my Facebook data and sales tells me so. Right. Under 35, it's more like, tequila and stuff like that. But I started selling wine stuff. I had t-shirts that say WTF, which, most people say, whoa, why are they wearing a shirt that says, what the, it really says wine time finally, right? It has 5 o'clock underneath it. And people just like, man, everybody it blows up. Tactical stuff. People love tactical flashlights and knives and prepping. So I find these very broad niches, and I go to places like AliExpress, which most people should know about. I find these products that I don't care the slightest bit about, but other people do, and I sell them through Facebook ads, right? And Google shopping and stuff like that. And it just makes, an immense amount of money. We're talking about one teeny tiny little product that you drop ship could make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for you. And for anybody that's watching this that knows about drop shipping saying, well, drop shipping's dead. No one wants to wait 2 weeks for products from China. You're wrong. You're misinformed. You've watched too many gurus on YouTube with fake Lamborghinis they rented for 1 hour. Drop shipping's not dead. Drop shipping's been around forever. I mean, like forever. And
since shipping's been around, really.
Yeah. Dude, I'm buying stuff like this shirt that I bought, this jacket from this company called Zane Robe. This was drop shipped. It took 2 weeks to get here. I buy stuff from them all the time. It was drop shipped from China. But the thing is that now e-commerce has evolved in a way where you don't have to drop ship from China. You can go to AliExpress and you can find tens of thousands of vendors in the United States of America that will ship anywhere in the world. And they ship within 5 to 7 days. But you don't know what it is you don't know, right? You don't know that there's this little button on AliExpress that you can hit that brings up nothing but US vendors. You don't know that there are print-on-demand platforms, which means companies that, drop ship shirts and all sorts of products for you, and they will print custom logos on it. There's tons of them. They're free. You install them on your store. You can have custom shirts, mugs, whatever, jackets, linen tote bags, pillows, and you never pay for them unless a customer buys them and you profit. And it's endless opportunity, and they ship directly from the US anywhere in the world. You can DHL ship products from China and get them in 10 days. So I wanted to address that because I know a lot of people, Sean, watching this are gonna be like, well, drop shipping, China. No. You just have to be on the cutting edge. And that's where I am and my students are. And that's why we know these things.
Well, and it's something I think people ought to, and when you don't understand something like myself, I'm not a drop shipping expert, of course, but it is funny how when you don't understand something, little bits of information you'll either have a negative or positive reaction. And you mentioned a lot of people might say, oh, drop shipping's dead, or, it has to be 2 weeks from China. Who wants to do that? Those kinds of questions are not useful. The types of they're not bad questions, but the real question should be, what's the opportunity there? Okay, you just mentioned, all right, I can filter by US providers and get it down to 5 to 10 days. So I can beat somebody who's selling the same thing from China. So that's a huge opportunity, right? And you described the marketplace. I heard a good metaphor for it once, that it's a lot like rivers that change course over time, and people are always getting into the water at different places. So the market is always moving. It might be yoga pants, maybe it's 18 months, maybe it's 5 years, but then it might kind of divvy down and go into something else. You found a very cool system, I think, to tap into those streams of national interest, higher niche products, right? Yeah. Like I think that is so powerful, because you're right. If you go and sell something that's super niche, you're going to have an easier time selling it, in the sense that it's a smaller audience. You might be able to sell, but the margins are going to be worse because everybody's fighting to get in there. The actual products maybe will only be able to sell a certain amount. Where guess who wears socks? Every single person in the United States, maybe save some people who choose not to, yeah. Right? So you are crossing a lot of different niches or individual needs. Socks, people who like cats, people who like humor, and people who are willing to buy it online. Guess what? That's a lot of people. Yeah. And I think anybody watching this needs to understand that the way you approach the problem is as important as what you are doing. If for some weird reason the DHL and the Postal Service just stopped shipping things and everybody had to go to stores and drop shipping died tomorrow for real, guess what? I wouldn't be very worried about you, because I know you would go and find another business that you could scale up based on that principle of going where the market takes you, not letting your own interests cloud your judgment when it comes to selling products. So I find that very useful. Last question, and then we'll let you go here, because I want to respect your time. And again, anybody watching this, we're going to do a tactical training that's more into some of the things we've just discussed in this last question. And my last question is going to be kind of cliche, in the sense that it gets asked a lot, I'm sure. But what is your one takeaway, I think, that you'd want people to, from your own experience with having thousands of successful students, what is the element that you see in them as a person before and during the success process for them? What is that the difference, you might say, between them and someone who doesn't succeed with what you are selling?
That's an easy question. And it's also an important question too. The main difference I see in people that are having success and people that are failing is the ones that are having success know their why. And what that means is they know their reason for why they want to be successful. They have an end goal, be it to leave a legacy, be it to spend more time with their family, whatever it could be, right? They know their reason, and it's typically not a shallow reason like I just want to be rich and have Lambos, right? It's a burning desire that is in them when they wake up in the mornings that makes them wake up wanting to do whatever it takes to be successful. A good example of this is one of my students, Alex Steele. He lives in Vancouver, I believe, in Canada. I have a lot of students from all over the world. And he worked at a job for over 10 years. He has, I think, 3 or 4 children, all under the age of like 6 or 7 years old. His baby girl had cancer. I don't know exactly how old she was, but maybe like a 1.5, you know? And he became a student of mine 2 years ago. And I remember he sent me a message on Facebook and he said, Adrian, I just got my first sale for $11 because I teach people this unique strategy to get a boatload of sales using the most powerful word in the world, and that is free. It's a viral strategy and it works every time. And so he used it, he saw it, he's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I said, oh, cool, man, congrats on your first sale. Well, like 2 months later, he hit me up and he was like, Adrian, we just crossed our first $5,000. And I was like, that's epic, dude. And then he hit me up and again, he's like, and by the way, I did it while I was at the hospital with my wife and my little girl, and she was getting her treatments. I didn't have to worry about, being at my job because, time is important, right? And over the course of the year, he sent me these updates, and I always thought, it's like, that's so cool. Like his why was his family and his daughter and time with her. She's been cured, and he's now one of the most successful media buyers in Canada, by the way, someone who knew nothing just 2 years ago when they're starting out. But he sent me a message and he posted it in our Facebook group because all my members get in our private group. There's this big picture of this cardboard sign on the wall that said, welcome home forever, daddy. And it was him and his 4 girls, and he quit his job that day. Not overnight. Now, this happened over the course of time, and he quit his job with this big thing about how his end goal was to spend time with his family. And that's the type of person that I see being successful, is someone that has that desire and determination to achieve that success for a very specific reason that really gets them going, whatever it may be. And those are the people that absolutely crush it. And that's why when you get a hold of the strategies and the case studies and the techniques that I use, so many people have been able to achieve success. That's why Shopify decided to make my course the one and only first course in the history of Shopify to be officially certified and approved as an education partner. So if you go to shopify.com and look at education partners, there's my name. I'm number 1, the first person they ever did it for. And right now it's only like 4 people. They got one in like Spanish, Dutch, and like these different languages. I'm the English one. And that's the reason that the COO, Harley of Shopify, invited me up for a meeting. And he told me, he's like, I'm not inviting you up because of your success. I wanted to meet you because of all of the stores that you've sent to our platform that have had so much success. Because a lot of people that teach e-commerce and gurus and stuff, they send people to Shopify and people are amped up and they're hyped up. They're like, I'm going to freaking crush this. But then
they don't make sales.
The guru disappears, after people buy their course. And naturally, the stores disappear too as people don't succeed, because you need continued education. And I continuously educate my students. When somebody gets on one of my VIP courses, I give them free webinars with me live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. EST, and I help them evolve. Those aren't like monthly training coaching sessions they have to buy. It's beneficial for me because the more success they have, the more credibility I gain, right? And that's why I got invited up to Shopify. Literally, one of the things I show in the webinar is how to do zero targeting. A lot of people think you have to have all these ninja tactics to target your Facebook ads. And I know that you probably cringe over this because you're a masterful copywriter, but I write like 3 sentences in my ad, the same sentences for every single thing I sell. And I just put an image or a video, and I will target everyone in the world, literally. No specific targeting, because the products that I sell are viral and they're broad. Like you said, everybody wears socks. you don't really need to target much for that, right? Unless
yeah,
you're
there's no
targeting
demographic data
right?
for that. Yeah.
So that said, you're able to get this very broad target list and the ads go viral. I've been running the same exact Shopify store. I run a lot of them, but one of them is I've been running since 2015. We still sell the same stuff. We add new things in, and that store still crushes it. And that's called consistency. And that's what people need that are learning. They need to be learning from someone who didn't have just have success at one point, but someone who had success and still has success and will continue to have success. That's who you need to be learning anything from in real estate, e-commerce, copywriting, whatever it may be. So I'm really excited to actually like share my screen and show people how to build a Facebook ad, show people one of my actual stores and the exact products that I sell, the exact free viral strategy that I use. When I'm able to share my screen, then people get to see that more detailed stuff. So I'm stoked about that.
Love it. So to that point, click the link below above just go sign up, because that training, it's everywhere. It's all over. You can't miss it. No. I have watched it several times because we've worked together on different projects, but I know this is the latest and greatest version of it. And anybody who's curious, I find myself sometimes a jaded person. All right. So I still struggle with that. I'll hear somebody say, give me something positive, and I will bite it and I'll say, ew, right? Like I still have that that tendency. And you said something that I think some younger people might have some issues with, which is you said they need to have a why, a strong why to keep going. And a lot of young people today, and we could go on for another hour about this, but a lot of people are, I would classify as lost, right? Like they don't have a why and they don't see a need for it. And you can't really blame people for that, because a lot of times if you're at the bottom and you're looking up, you might just say, what the heck is this even worth? Why have a why, right? So I challenge anybody who had that reaction to Adrian's advice of to be successful with this, you need a powerful why, to take an hour walk with that painful thought of I don't have a why, and give some real deep thought to what you actually want, and go beyond, keep going down the rabbit holes that will come up. That's the only question you need to contemplate, is what do I actually want? And you'll be surprised what comes up. For me, a lot of times I chase that dollar figure. And what happened to me when it got into the bank account, I had a freaking panic attack because I didn't understand why. Like there was all these like issues that happened in my own mind when I reached the 6 figures in my bank account. And I had to step back and realize that I didn't actually have a why. I didn't have a deeper reason for it beyond just an arbitrary goal. Now, as I get older, I've entered my 30s, I have a son. It's a lot easier for me to push through negativity to focus on my whys and my objectives. But when I was younger, it was a challenge. So anybody who's younger who may say, I don't even know, I want to just go party, right? Take a minute to dive into that question, because you might be surprised at the bigger things that come out of contemplating that. So Adrian, I'll let you take us out. And just, I want to say, I really appreciate you taking this time, because I know if you broke down dollar per hour, I'm going to put this at about a $12,000 call. And, I don't underestimate that. So I want to say thank you for sharing this with my audience and everybody who's watching this. If there's a comment thing, I'd like, if you made it all the way to this mark, bravo to you. But also give Adrian a bit of love too, because I think we can't underestimate how useful this can be when put into practice. So Adrian, thank you, my friend, for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome working with you over the years, watching you grow your businesses, and you are the master at what you do. So mad respect to that. And I look forward to seeing everybody go through this training that we have and showing you more of it on the technical side of what we do and how simple it is to really honestly duplicate it and get started in less than 24 hours. So thanks again, man. I'm excited to see the results.
Love it, brother. All right, everybody. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next one. All right, Adrian. I think that's a good wrap. Dude, thank you so much again. This